We've got multiple changes coming to Road to Glory in College Football 26 that should make the mode more enjoyable on this year's version of the game. Let's talk about it. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Welcome back into JC CFB, where you can see all kinds of college football video game content with me, JC, here today to discuss another deep dive dropped by EA as we get closer and closer to the release of College Football 26. Can't wait for it. Be sure you're subscribed here to stay up to the news in the lead up to that release, and of course, get a bunch of fun gameplay content once the game comes out. And if you want to help us out further, you can hit that thumbs up button, help us with that YouTube algorithm, help us find more college football video game fans like yourself. And if you're one of those and you haven't become a channel member here, become a college football sicko by becoming a member of the JCCFB community by hitting the join button in the video description or over on the YouTube channel homepage. Talk about Road to Glory in College Football 26. Deep dive released yesterday, and I think there's a lot of info here, and I've gathered 10 major updates that I think will make the experience more enjoyable on this year's version of the game, and it's going to be a lot of fun here. I like all these changes coming to Road to Glory, and I think I'll play it a little bit more than I did in 25. So with no further ado, let's get into some of those. All right, so one of the big changes, of course, that we know is high school coming to Road to Glory, returning to Road to Glory, I guess I should say, and we've talked in the past about how that's going to work, but let's talk a little bit about your creation here. Of course, you'll be able to select your star prospect just like you did last year, 5, 4, 3, or 2 star. However, just because you select a star level doesn't mean you'll stay at that star level. You can gain, you can even lower if you have bad performances out there on the field, which we'll talk more about momentarily. But now with high school being involved in Road to Glory, of course, you'll pick your position. You'll pick your archetype, which there are a ton of expanded archetypes. No new positions, still the same from last year: quarterback, halfback, wide receiver, middle linebacker, and corner. Of course, the change, though, is a high school coming in, which when you get to go to high school, you can set your high school name and mascot, 6 preset mascots to choose from, each with their own uniforms, colors, and logos. But what I like here that I think is a nice touch in one of these first changes that we're going to talk about, if you're looking for more control, you want to represent your actual high school maybe, you can take advantage of Team Builder integration. So Team Builder integration coming to Road to Glory. And if you see here, here's how you use it. Of course, you go to the Team Builder website, you make your team. Once you finish your design, upload them to the download center under create and share. And then, of course, when starting Road to Glory, you choose import high school team builder. From there, you select your download team. You'll be given the option to import your custom roster, or you'll just can use a generic high school roster with that team, which is what I'll probably do personally, because as they stated here earlier, if you use a team with all 90 overall players, it's going to be probably far too easy for you in high school. So if you want a challenge, I'd suggest probably going with the default generic high school roster that can be applied to your team. However, your custom stadium, will always be used. So once you go ahead and you make your created player, you select your archetype, your position, all your stances, your ball carrying style, all those other little details that you can hit on in this one. Select your team. You're going to use one that's on the game. You're going to use a team builder team. You can do either one of those things. But then, of course, once you get into high school, as previously stated, there's 5 games. You don't get to play the full games. You get to select 4 moments within each game to play. And it's an interesting way to go about it. I think they tried to find a happy medium for people that thought high school took too long and people that wanted a faster experience. And there's been some mixed reactions to that. Personally, I'm just kind of wait and see how it functions. I think it sounds like it could be a pretty cool idea here, especially with how the recruiting process goes along. And that's the next thing I want to talk about here, is that while you're in high school, you'll have a recruiting board. Let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, so now while you're going through the high school portion of Road to Glory, you'll have a recruiting board you need to set and manage the top schools that are watching your every move. And as we see here, here's how that goes. Managing your top schools. Recruiting is competitive, and how you manage your top schools can make or break your path to a scholarship. Each school sets a scholarship threshold, and to earn an offer, your assessed tape score must meet or exceed that threshold. The assessed tape score will vary from school to school. It is a representation of how schools view your film and how well your skill set aligns with what they're looking for at whatever position that you play. A school's scholarship threshold isn't static. It's shaped by multiple factors. Those include team prestige, the scheme fit, your motivations, your proximity to their campus, their team needs, and your answers and scenarios that pop up involving, and of course, the other off-field decisions that come along as well. So to make informed decision, you can view each school's full evaluation of you from the overview tab on the recruiting board. Here you'll find your assessed tape score, your projected role, your current depth chart, head coach boosts and tendencies, everything you need to understand how that school sees you and where you fit potentially there. So here's what we're talking about here with the recruiting board in high school. So similar to kind of how you have a recruiting board in your dynasties when you're recruiting high school players, now you'll have a recruiting board in the high school ranks and road to glory where you're determining your top teams. I believe it's a list of 10 that you can have up to here. You see these listed on the screenshot here. They currently have Texas as their number one school. And as they talk about here, you go to the overview tab. You can see their head coach, his career record, his tendencies, run, pass, aggressive, conservative. You can see what your projected role would be if you fit their scheme, what conference they're in, the other quarterbacks they currently have on the roster. And then up here at the top is what you'll really be keeping an eye on, that assessed tape score. You can see here for this recruit to get an offer from Texas, they would need 5,900 of an assessed tape score, and then they could potentially verbally commit once the offer comes in from Texas. So you're competing for offers against other recruits as part of a 4,100 player recruiting class, where schools are targeting other players at your position. From the recruiting class tab, you can see which prospects at a school is actively pursuing. If another player commits at your position, your assessed tape score might no longer be enough, making it even harder to earn an offer or even pulling an offer off the table in the future maybe. And there you see that here. Same screen, but instead of the overview tab, you go to the recruiting class tab, and you see other prospects that school is targeting. And you see here, this prospect is a quarterback, and you can see they're also targeting another quarterback here in K. Carlos. You can manage your recruiting board at any time from the My Recruitment action in the high school hub. You're allowed up to 10 schools on your list. Thought that's what it was. And you can add, remove, and swap them out based on evolving recruiting picture. When browsing new schools to add or swapping out, you'll be able to view each program's full assessment of your tape score to see where you stand before making a decision. You can also reorder the board anytime, much like your recruiting board in Dynasty mode. And this is a really cool touch as well. I do want to hit on this. And while you focus on your journey, the world of college football continues to evolve around you. Seniors graduate, new recruits commit, coaches change jobs, and players into the transfer portal, all of which reshapes the college landscape by the time you're ready to commit. So that's pretty cool here. While you're playing that high school portion, those 5 games, the college season is going on at that same time. So when you enter college, you're actually, a season in, or would be like a season in if you were playing Dynasty. So that's a nice touch that they've added there to make it a little bit more realistic as well. And I really like that addition, and the addition of a recruiting board in high school where you kind of determine your top schools and who you want to kind of pursue to go to for college. Plus, you can line that up with what your scheme fit is, what they're pursuing, all of that factoring in. So I think that's a nice touch, and it really deepens the recruiting process, which I think is something that we lacked, of course, in college football 25 with no high school aspect. The recruiting process was kind of, too simple, I guess, to put, for lack of a better phrase there. And of course, as you progress, like I said, your star rating could potentially change. This recruit right here is looking at a 4-star, trying to get to a 5-star. But as your star rating updates following games, you also update your national ranking, your state ranking, and your ranking at your position. So it goes even further into where you stand in the recruiting process, which is a nice touch. And as you proceed through that season, of course, you can verbally commit to a school, and you can commit at any time. You can decommit at any time. And just because you commit to a school doesn't mean you're locked into going there, because as you can see, one of the other additions that we have coming up in a minute is signing day, and we'll talk about that momentarily. But before we get there, one of the other upgrades that I want to talk about here on this list of 10 is something really cool that, comes into factor here with the high school, and that is a senior night that you'll get to have here for your final game in the high school ranks, which is a nice touch. So at the end of your high school season, you'll get one last chance to leave it all on the field. This is your capstone moment. Final opportunity to showcase your growth, your tape, and everything you've built throughout the season. You'll be honored with a special run out, which that's really cool, as well as the new run outs. We'll talk more on that here in a bit. But in high school, of course, they'll be a little bit different than in college. But the one that'll really be different in high school is this senior night run out, because you'll have flowers in hand celebrating your final home game, which will also, of course, be a night game. And we know the night game presentation revamped here in college football 26. And the night isn't just symbolic, it's also your last chance to manage your top schools. Once the game wraps, that's when you'll select your final top 3 schools, where you'll be making the decision there on signing day, which is another update that we got to talk about here, is the addition of signing day. All right, so signing day, and this is really cool. We've talked about this a little bit in the past, but just to get the full details here, you've made your tape, you've earned your offers. Now it's time to make your choice. Signing day is the final step in your high school journey and your first step into college football. The scene is set in your high school gymnasium with hats laid out for each of those schools that you selected as your final 3. But it's your moment. How you handle it's up to you. If you want to fake out the crowd, pick up a hat, put it back down. You want to be even more dramatic? Throw it across the gym. So you can do that as well. And then, of course, when it's all said and done, you grab the hat for the school you're ready to commit to, the place where you'll begin to leave your legacy in the college football world. And that, of course, comes through on signing day. Another nice addition here to Road to Glory. And, of course, when you get to college, the functions within there are pretty similar to what they were in 25 as far as having the weekly agenda, although they've changed the way that you get points. If it's a short week, you get 5 of those weekly agenda points. If it's a regular week, you get 6. If it's a bye week, you get 7. So that's a little bit different, but you still have that weekly agenda to spend. You still have practice to go to as well, and you still have the ability to upgrade your player. All of that still involved in the college, with some new details thrown in there, which we'll touch on here in a bit. But one of the things you're going to have to manage now in Road to Glory is something that we've talked about in the Dynasty updates, and that is the season and career health meters. They're now involved with wear and tear. Now you have to deal with those in Road to Glory as well. Another new addition here on our list of 10. Managing your body over time is just as important as avoiding injuries. Much like a boxer, a football player can only absorb so many hits before wear and tear catches up. It's about how your body responds to the physical demands of a long season. In 26, Road to Glory introduces season and career health pools. These track how much wear and tear damage you can recover in a single season and across your entire career. Every time you take steps to recover, it pulls from these pools. Once your season health pool is depleted, you won't be able to recover further until the off season when your body fully heals. And then at the end of each season, your pool replenishes, but not always to the same level. The size of next year's pool depends on how much of it was left intact at the end of the current season. If you barely made it through and burned most of your recovery capacity, you'll start next year with a smaller meter, a smaller health pool there, finishing the year in good shape, and you'll start the next season with a similar health pool. In addition to managing your wear and tear week to week, you're also managing your career clock. Every hit you take in games and every decision you make in your weekly agenda about how hard you train impacts that season health as well. Training too aggressively can drain your recovery potential and leave you worn down by the end of the year. Long-term success depends on how well you develop, how you balance that development with your durability, not just how much you work that you put in, but how smartly you manage that work. And we see a screenshot there yet again. And of course, the season and career health meters right here, which we covered this when we talked about Dynasty, but really cool addition here to Road to Glory as well, are the season and career health pools. Next up, we talked about, you have the weekly agenda, you still have practice. Last year, we know that once you earned the starting job, a lot of us didn't use practice anymore because there was almost no risk of losing that starting job. It was hard to kind of lose coach trust. So to combat that, they've added a new wrinkle to Road to Glory with not only coach trust, but now you have coach happiness as well, and practicing will directly affect that. So whether you're the starter or not, you're going to have to practice. So let's talk a little bit about coach happiness now. So coach happiness. Now, coach trust will reflect your long-term growth. It does not capture how your coach feels about you in the moment based on your on-field performance and off-field decision-making. That's key right there, as the coach happiness takes into account off-the-field stuff as well. In 26, they're introducing coach happiness, which is a direct reflection of how your coach feels about you at that current moment. It's a short-term, week-to-week system that reacts to your in-game performance and off-field decisions, and it can make and break your spot on the depth chart. Coach happiness fluctuates week to week and game to game. If it's high, you'll progress through coach trust faster. If it drops too low, your coach trust slows. You may begin to lose trust each week, and if it gets bad enough, you could be benched or demoted entirely. So not only are you tracking coach trust, you're tracking coach happiness, because if your coach happiness is high, you get even more coach trust, and that progresses faster. They kind of go hand in hand here. Once you've lost your depth chart spot, you need to compete in a position battle to earn it back, but your coach won't even consider giving you another shot until your happiness rating at least reaches a neutral level. It doesn't matter how good you are or how dominant you are on the field. If you're becoming a distraction to your program and you aren't taking care of business off the field, you'll quickly fall out of favor with your coach and find yourself having to climb back up the depth chart. And here's a shot of that coach happiness here. You can see right here is being demoted on the depth chart because his coach is angry. Coach stress is way down because of the coach happiness being way down, which led to a demotion. So see, that's about as low as it can get there. I believe right here is neutral, and then you go all the way up here to happy and fully in the green there. So what affects this coach happiness? 4 primary factors. Those are game performance, your meters, scenarios, and practice. So game performance, it's the biggest driver of coach happiness. Win games, make big plays, avoid mistakes, and your coach will be happy. Mess up repeatedly or underperform, and the leash gets shorter. Players with a higher overall have more room for error. Fringe starters don't. One bad game won't tank you, but stack a couple and you'll feel the effects. And then as far as your meters, which are the things that you're messing with there in your weekly agenda, as we know from last year, 2 of those really affect coach happiness. That's your GPA and your leadership ratings contribute each week based on your off-the-field actions. A low GPA or poor leadership can hurt your coach happiness. If you really don't take care of business in the classroom and become academically ineligible, your coach will lose a significant amount of happiness, and not only will you be suspended, you'll lose your spot entirely. Conversely, staying eligible and leading by example can boost that standing. And then the scenarios that affect coach happiness are the weekly off-field scenarios that can shift based on your decision. Complimenting your coach in an interview or showing a mastery of the playbook during a team meeting will earn you favor. Skip class, get caught cheating, or embarrass the program, and you'll take a hit. For example, if you're falling behind in a class and some guy named Chad hands you a cheat sheet for your test and you take it, you could gain those academic benefits for a short term, but your coach will be furious if you get caught, and that'll kill your coach happiness. Practice. Coach happiness also changes based on how you perform in weekly practices. No medal, you lose a little bit of coach happiness. You get a bronze, no effect there. Silver or gold, you get a small gain in coach happiness. So practice may not move the needle as quickly as games, but it helps maintain trust during quieter weeks. And that's what I'm talking about there with you still needing to practice now if you're the starter, because if you don't, you're not getting any medals, you're getting those losses in coach happiness each week. Eventually, you'll be demoted down the depth chart because you're not practicing, and that's affecting coach happiness. Coach happiness adds a layer of short-term consequence and emotion to your career. Your coach isn't just there to look good, he's evaluating you week by week. Every performance, rep, and every decision matters. If you want to stay on the field, keep that coach happy. And there you see a shot of it on the other end where he's fully happy there with the meter filled up there on coach happiness. Next new upgrade that we got to talk about is one that I'm sure is pleasing to everyone's ears, because if you're like me, you really didn't care for the Road to Glory camera angles. I mean, you could switch it a little bit to back it out, but it still wasn't the same camera that you use in, Play Now, Road to College Football Playoff, Dynasty mode. So they have incorporated new camera angles. So that is very nice. They say during gameplay, they've introduced new Road to Glory camera options based directly on player feedback to help you see the field from better angles and feel more connected to the action. Presentation this year is built around you, especially when you take the field at home. So new camera angles, that's one. And now let's bring us to another one that is really cool. And we kind of briefly touched on this when we talked about senior night. That is the new runouts, specifically tailored to Road to Glory. They'll be different in Road to Glory than they are in Dynasty Play Now or any other mode, specifically almost nearly a first-person experience. Let's talk about the Road to Glory runouts. Now, when you're running out of the tunnel, you're no longer just watching the pageantry of college football. You're a part of it. As you walk down the tunnel, ready to run onto the field, the camera will be directly behind your player, keeping you fully in the moment. You'll hear the band echoing through the stadium, see the teammates rallying around you, and feel the electricity of a packed house welcoming you to the field. At Florida, you'll touch the Gatorhead. Oklahoma, you'll run behind the schooner. At LSU, you'll tap the wind bar. These are college football traditions brought to life, and now you're a part of it. As you take the field, you can pan the camera with the right stick, soaking in the environment, looking at whatever you want, and owning the moment as the crowd erupts around you. And, of course, we had some really cool video footage of that with the Virginia Tech clip that they released, and then, of course, a couple showcased at the beginning there of the Road to Glory trailer, and that's just a nice addition there. And how about this, taking it even further? This is really cool. As you start to cook and your player becomes him, the environment will begin to react to you. You'll see fans holding signs with your name on them, or even your name painted across some of those chests. That is so cool, guys. So cool. All right, so a couple more here. Next up, This is a nice addition, I think, and I'm pretty sure that people are familiar with 2K, the My Player, My Career, whatever you want to call it there. The teammate grade, is what it was known as on 2K. Well, how about a similar function now coming to Road to Glory? They're calling it per play grading here in Road to Glory. Let's talk a little bit about this upgrade. So with per play grading, every snap matters. In College Football 26, your in-game performance is now tracked through a per play grading system, a direct reflection of how your coach evaluates you moment by moment. Your starting grade is determined by your current coach happiness level. Players with a low coach happiness level will start with a lower grade and have a much shorter leash as a result. Every play updates your grade in real time, whether it's a clean touchdown pass, a key defensive stop, a costly sack, or a missed read. Grades are meant to be earned. Getting an A takes consistent execution and standout plays, but make too many mistakes and you'll drop fast. If your grade falls to an F, you'll be benched for a quarter. When you return, you'll start with a D+, one more chance to prove yourself, but mess up again and your coach won't hesitate to pull you a second time. And here you see it, it'll be reflected in the top left corner of your screen. You see this player currently has an A. He's thrown 4 touchdowns. He has 307 yards, thus resulting in an A grade right now currently for him. At the end of each game, your final grade determines what rewards or potentially consequences you earn. That includes followers. You gain or lose fans based on your performance. You can earn more XP, progress your player more quickly with a strong grade. Coach trust. You can gain or lose coach trust based on performance. And of course, coach happiness will increase or decrease depending on your coach's satisfaction with you as well. And the last update I want to talk about, but certainly not least, is a couple of new things that have been added, and we've covered them in the past when talking about Dynasty mode and such, but to have them in Road to Glory, I think is a really nice touch because now you'll be able to keep track of your accomplishments with the addition of both Trophy Room and College Football History coming to Road to Glory. Let's talk about it here. Leaving your legacy. Every great player leaves a legacy. Now Road to Glory gives you the tools to build, track, and celebrate it. There's no set ending, no scripted finale. Whether you're chasing Heisman's, winning a title at different schools every year, or simply trying to carve out a meaningful career on your terms, Road to Glory supports the path you choose. With Trophy Room, it's your place to celebrate the biggest moments of your Road to Glory career. Every time you win a rivalry, a bowl game, a conference title, a natty, or an individual award, the Trophy Room is automatically added in there. You'll receive a notification in-game, and you can view your full collection from the Road to Glory hub, the main menu, or your global profile. Each Road to Glory character has their own trophy room tied specifically to that player. Team-based trophies include full context, season, team, opponent, and final score. Individual awards show your name, team, and the year you brought home the hardware. You can even select a trophy to learn more about its history and significance in college football, which yet again, that takes us to our next edition here, which is the College Football History tab that is also going to be here in Road to Glory. Because your legacy isn't just personal, it can now be etched into the record books of college football itself. The College Football History screen gives you the chance to see your name listed alongside some of these sports all-time greats. Accessible from the Stats and Records tab of the Road to Glory hub, CFB History is a curated archive of the sport's biggest achievements, tracks a timeline of historical award winners, and we talked about this in Dynasty going all the way back to the 1860s. As you earn these same accolades during your Road to Glory career, your name will appear in those same records. Whether it's a natty, a conference title, or a major individual award, every major moment you earn is added to the legacy of the sport, side by side with real legends. And in College Football 26, they've deepened this experience by adding 14 new authentic awards. We know a lot of those are now in the game, and we can see here in a screenshot, this quarterback won the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, and then you can go to the College Football History tab and say, okay, who else has won this award throughout the years? And you go through the list and look going all the way back to the beginning when the award was first inception there in college football. And it says, in addition to College Football History, you can also view all of your awards from your player card. You just go to the tab, go to the More tab, and then Stats. And in the Stats screen, you can filter to awards, and it will show all your awards, conference championships, natties, All-American, and all-conference selections, as well as Player of the Week and your transfer history. So you can go here and see a little bit more of the history of your player on the player card. You see here, awards. He's a 6-time Offensive Player of the Week in the Big 12 Conference. He's won a natty, a conference title. He transferred to Oregon after originally being at Oklahoma State, and all that's tracked in the player card there. So good ways to keep up with your history throughout the Road to Glory mode as well. So there it is, 10 new upgrades coming to Road to Glory in College Football 26 that I personally think are going to make the mode more enjoyable. That's not everything that they added to Road to Glory. I mean, that deep dive was pretty lengthy, and there is some other stuff in there that you may like to touch on, but that's really what stood out to me, and I wanted to highlight that stuff here in this video. If there's something else that you really like and enjoy, throw it in the comments. Let me know some of your favorite additions to Road to Glory or how you're feeling about the mode in general, as it seems like it's been upgraded, in my opinion, for College Football 26, but that's just my opinion. Would love to hear yours. Drop it in the comments there. Appreciate those interactions as I continue to try and grow the JCCFB community here. And another way you can help with that is just by taking a second, hitting that thumbs up button, helping us out with that crazy YouTube algorithm, help us find more college football video game fans like yourself. And if you're one of those that can't get enough college football video game content, definitely consider becoming a channel member here by hitting that join button. Really helps us here keep this mic recording, keep that camera rolling, and of course, maybe be a catalyst to me being able to do this full time one day. And I will give back to you a ton of bonus content for doing so, including playbook tips, mini schemes, a lot of fun stuff there once the game releases. And of course, once the real college football season comes around, got some fun stuff planned there for channel members as well. So just wanted to get that little bit of housekeeping out of the way there, but super excited, man. I think I'll play Road to Glory a lot more in College Football 26 than I did in College Football 25. Seems like a lot more enjoyable, both with what they've added with the high school experience, which I know is debatable because some people want to play the full games, and I get that, but I think that this could be a really happy medium, and I think it sounds like it could be a lot of fun, especially with how the recruiting process is going to work. I like a lot of the things that are involved there, and it sounds like they've deepened the college experience a little bit more to make it not only more enjoyable, but more replayable and stuff as well. So I like what I'm hearing. Hopefully you guys all are as well. I'll continue to keep you guys up to date with news in the lead up to this game's release, and we'll have a bunch of fun gameplay content coming for you once it comes out. So be sure you're subscribed here to the channel to get all that directly into your feed by hitting that subscribe button here on JCCFB. I'd greatly appreciate that, just like I appreciate you tuning into this video, and I will catch you on the next one.